What is going on, everybody? It is episode 245 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. Today we keep trucking along, and once again, we want no tech issues.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Is that superstitious? Is that too superstitious?
I don't even care at this point.
I was going to say,
I don't care. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to make this work today. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about a bunch of feminist organizations that apparently didn't watch any of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. We're going to talk about, speaking of Johnny Depp, Lily Rose Depp has some thoughts. Well, actually, she doesn't have some thoughts on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. She has some thoughts about not having some thoughts on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Jon Stewart bringing up what happened with Dave Chappelle on Saturday Night Live, as well as some other performers in that community. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Brendan Fraser and his bowing out of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association's connecting to the Golden Globes. He's backing out of that this year because he says he doesn't want to be a hypocrite. But there's some interesting details regarding the... it's saying no
Something wrong?
Yeah, it's saying no data.
What the? Is everything okay, guys?
We good? We're good. It says good. It said no data for a second there.
What?
It says Brettman saved the silence. Looks like we're still good. Now we're gonna be hyper
because we're being hyper vigilant and paranoid this entire time. So in the chat, you better let us know if you see anything out of the ordinary.
All right, yeah. If you see anything, let us know. But I'm gonna
if you see something, say something, etc.
Is that where that saying came from?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna keep trucking along. Brendan Fraser talking about what happened with a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association many years ago, and then Waffle Sensei says Brett's gaslighting us. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. You just can't.
You
see
guys
it from my
gaslight
end.
Brett.
Yeah,
what are you talking about? You keep telling him that it's a different day of the week.
Left field says 1 minute 18 seconds.
No.
It could be that. I think Shane's just mad.
This is traumatic.
It is. No, it is. Like
I'm honestly getting flashbacks.
The other that bad. I was like, how are we going to get all this stuff figured out and actually put on a show for people when we have no idea if we're actually live or not? We're figuring it out.
We're fine.
Little by little, guys.
It's
all right.
fine. Nothing is wrong.
Candace Cameron Bure has responded to the claims that she is, what is it? I guess they would be calling her homophobic because her desire to make family-oriented traditional marriage movies over at Great American Family. We've also got some interesting Batman G4 TV news. If that sounds like a doozy, it's because it is. So, Mary, 118, never forget. If you're ready, we'll just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We're ready. Right. So... 130 organizations and experts have just signed off on an open letter in support of Amber Heard. The letter is condemning the public shaming and hordes of TikToks that have made fun of Amber Heard.
I think we should read the open. It's pretty short.
Yeah, sure. It says 5 months ago, the verdict in the defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard deeply concerned many professionals in the fields of intimate partner and sexual violence. As many, including A.O. Scott from the New York Times, have noted, the vilification of Ms. Heard and ongoing online harassment of her and those who have voiced support for her have been unprecedented in both vitriol and scale. Much of this harassment was fueled by disinformation, misogyny, biphobia, and a monetized social media environment where a woman's allegations of domestic violence and sexual assault were mocked for entertainment. The same disinformation and victim-blaming tropes are now being used against others who have alleged abuse. In our opinion, the Depp v. Heard verdict and continued discourse around it indicate a fundamental misunderstanding of intimate partner and sexual violence and how survivors respond to it. The damaging consequences of the spread of this misinformation are incalculable. We have grave concerns about the rising misuse of defamation suits to threaten and silence survivors. We condemn the public shaming of Amber Heard and join in support of her. We support the ability of all to report intimate partner and sexual violence free of harassment and intimidation.
What about Johnny Depp? Does he get to report intimate partner and sexual violence crimes? Apparently not. My first thought is, first of all, biphobia is not a thing. You made that up.
I'm still on that.
Okay.
Like, how was biphobia in any way related to the?
I've never even heard that term before.
I forgot, or at least I never learned in the first place that Amber Heard was bisexual.
Yeah.
That was completely out of left field.
So I will give them this. Monetized social media environment, there is a reasonable argument, if we weren't already aware that she was also guilty of the same crimes, but you don't get a pass on the rest of those ridiculous claims. If you want to say that there's absolutely elements of social media or YouTube that benefit from having channels that talk about Amber Heard, I would say that's fair, but I think that most of them are holding her to account for as much as they would hold Johnny Depp to account when he was first originally kind of outed as being this person that supposedly abused Amber Heard. I have a problem with the rest of it, though.
Well, when they said that it was unprecedented in scale and vitriol, I actually kind of agree with that, just not for the same reasons. I argue that Amber Heard became a proxy stand-in figure for all of the women in Me Too and post Me Too who have had unlimited freedom to say whatever they want, to allege whatever they want, and not face consequences when people ask for evidence. They don't face consequences when there are reasonable suspicions that their allegations are not credible.
Yeah.
And that has stoked a lot of rightful, just anger against women, and especially women in Hollywood. And Amber Heard came to be an icon of that. And I mean, maybe that you can say that's unfair and that it swayed the jury against her in an unfair way that didn't actually look at the evidence and focus more on sympathies.
Thank you.
But the open letter is not acknowledging that context. They're just basically valorizing her and making her out to be the blameless angel when we all know and we have the evidence that she's not.
And there's not one drop of the vitriol against her has to do with her sexual orientation.
Right.
It has to do with her being a
insane.
generally insufferable person who's very clearly manipulative. I meant to play this last time, but I do want to play the clip again so people can hear the way she talked to Johnny Depp. And I do think it's fair that people listen to this if they haven't heard it before. I'm sure most of the people here have, but
here's a refresher then.
Every time people make these claims or when a group like this makes a statement like this, I want to play this clip and just have the button in front of me so I can hit it. So let's see if this one will play.
He got physically violent with me. I texted Travis. I said, come up here because I didn't want anything to happen. It's coming well, save me?
No, go ahead. Continue. You Travis to the rescue.
No, that was the last one. You can go. You can go.
He sounds so timid too.
That was the last insult.
You called me a liar, and yet.
I watched you lie.
You called me a liar.
I watched you lie. I heard it. I was right there.
There's no what. You still haven't told me what lie it is. But yet,
I'm getting Amaranth vibes too.
Yes, exactly.
We'll talk to Travis.
I'm not fucking talking to nobody.
No,
Fuck that. You go fucking jerk him off. I don't care. I really
Amber
feel
Heard
that.
sounds like
It's
Amaranth's
every
husband
single
right
time
now.
you latch onto some sort of thing. When I already told you, I don't know what you're fucking talking about. You don't even know what you're talking about. You still haven't even told me what it is. But run with it.
I have told you what it is.
No, you haven't.
I said to Travis, I said to you, hey, tell Travis what just happened.
You told me to do it. You told me to. You said, go do that.
I said, no, tell him what just happened.
And I lied.
And then you punched me in the fucking thing. You in the face. And you said, no,
thank
fuck,
you.
I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? And I watched you lie. And then
I didn't punch you,
and
by
then
the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
No, even a lot of guys been around a long time. No. Yeah.
No, when you fucking have a closed fist.
You get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine.
I'm sorry for laughing. I've heard it so many times, and it's so absurd.
Imagine being a group and being like, that's okay. Like, at this point, look, it's not about them supporting her. It's about them supporting any of them.
Here's right? There was no evidence of the organizations that signed off on this. The Women's March, National Organization for Women.
I love the generic names.
The Cyber Civil Rights Initiative. The National Women's Law Center. Equality Now. Just all of these nameless, faceless NGOs. And in case you didn't know already, you can't take them for their word when they say they stand up for the rights and safety and dignity of ordinary women, because they will ruin their credibility just to come out in defense of a celebrity, a female celebrity, who has this clip out where she openly admits to having perpetrated domestic violence against her partner.
Also, it's really funny. There's a group in here called the Equal Rights Advocates, which this would be, if ever there was a case where it seems like both parties are equally at fault. There's obviously no evidence that there was no there was no confirmed reports that Johnny Depp was ever violent with her, like not confirmed, secondhand things said by other people. But at the very least, it was a tumultuous relationship that was very clearly not one-sided.
And I hypothesize that they are both narcissistic.
Yes. My problem with it is it's her calling herself a victim of domestic abuse is a lie by omission, because even if he was, and there was no evidence or proof that he was, there's just that's a lie of omission. That's a lie by structure, a lie of omission, right? You're not admitting that you were also violent with the person you were with. That's assuming that he was, and I'm not saying he was. I can't confirm that.
Amber Heard's supporters and organizations that support her have always said more about this than she has.
Yeah.
If you actually look at the article that was the center of that defamation trial, it said less than all of these organizations and so-called experts are saying about the situation. One of them is actually Gloria Steinem. I didn't expect to see that name on the list. And another one from the National Women's Law Center said, everyone should be able to report abuse without fear of retaliation, including increasingly through the misuse of defamation lawsuits. So... And they're saying that a threat of a defamation suit alone can silence a survivor. They're basically saying that Johnny Depp's suit, although the jury has unanimously concluded that he is deserving of over $10 million in damages to his reputation, they're claiming that he brought forth that lawsuit only to silence her, even though her allegations were already public.
Yeah. One of my other favorite complaints was that, or one of the ways that they were framing it is there was a lot of articles that said, and in the case where both parties were awarded damages, which is very blatantly supposed to make it seem like he was also guilty of violence, but what it's really saying is that his lawyer had been deemed as if they lied on the, or what was the, remember that she had her own.
It was lawyer that he had in 2020 that she got damages for something he said.
So they specifically frame it that way, so it makes it seem like they were both guilty because they were trying to walk back the claims that she was the only victim. In this way, now they're both
It's a way
victims.
To keep it ambiguous,
exactly,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I read the New York Times article that was referenced in the open letter, and I just want to read an excerpt from that snark.
Go for it.
It said, "I have to wonder, are men okay? That's a sincere question.
When you say that, that's not usually actually sincerity.
Does the blend of self-pity, vanity, petulance, and bombast that Depp displayed on the stand represent how we want to see ourselves or our sons?" This was written by a man, by the way.
Of
Insane.
course.
That's a rhetorical question. The answer is yes. Not all men, though, right?
I love it. He's got the snark of a woman.
So they're going to speak to the general public with this much disdain and expect it not to be spit back in their face, and in the form of something as lighthearted as TikTok memes. People reposting clips of Amber Heard on the stand saying that her dog stepped on a bee. Like, I never saw any death threats, anything that conveyed like serious hate towards her. It was always just clowning on her, which she fully deserved.
Johnny Derp says, so victim blaming is okay when your target is a man. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially, you have less protections, less societal protections if you're a man.
That article also alleged that the hordes on TikTok that were trolling Amber Heard took a page from the playbook of Gamergate and the alt-right. Whatever that means.
I love how alt-right now just means anything we don't like.
Yeah, I mean, they referenced the pro-Trump alt-right from 2016.
So like a lifetime ago, basically.
And it has obviously nothing to do with the faction of people on the internet who were making memes about Amber Heard. Yep. And I'm sure it didn't mean that much to the people who were posting those TikToks anyway.
No, especially the TikToks. Like the people with the YouTube channels that cover it, in great amount, those probably have a lot more invested in it because they're doing a hell of a lot more research and they're doing a lot more work to put those videos together. Making a quick 30-second or 1 minute long social media post that's a joke is not the same level of engagement. And
the question of whether Amber Heard is guilty of perpetrating domestic violence aside, I've actually heard that when she fired her PR team back in May this year, it was because she heard that her PR guy had been accused of sexually harassing multiple women. And she fired him for other reasons because she was seeing headlines about herself that were unflattering. Yeah. She hired him after those accusations about him had been already made. So really, she's a huge hypocrite. Yep. She's not pro-survivor, but she wants to be respected and shown, just complete forgiveness as a survivor. Like, what did she do when she discovered this? Other than keep employing him. The
Violence Free Minnesota group is there, so my home state is helping Amber out.
They've betrayed you.
What's funny about this to me is like at this point, is there a world where the dude's concerns like are we ever gonna have like male group homes like when they get abused by women? Or is that just always going to be societally looked down upon and you just don't say nothing, didn't see nothing? So what if, she was just slapping you. She was just hitting you. Does what happens to men, the one that gets brought up a lot is like men suffer sexual violence in prison. But physical violence, domestic violence at home isn't uncommon.
And in prisons, of course, it's perpetrated by other men.
But I'm saying that at home, like in
I don't know what the answer is. But it's definitely not putting the spotlight on a case where we have two celebrity narcissists who probably have always gotten their way in life and who are acting, both of them, on the stand.
And that's why this will eventually... This has
nothing to do with the culture war, with
I think it does.
With the standing of men in legal proceedings who don't come from Hollywood. And it's a mistake to think that it will change precedent for them.
I don't know if there is a celebrity case that ends up changing precedent. It would have to be something out of a regular guy and a regular girl in a regular case. But at the same time,
and those just don't get the attention.
It never happens. Remember, I've talked a lot about it. It was like the Duke basketball players that got accused of R word by it might not have been Duke. I thought it was Duke by the girl who had she basically had sex with them.
No, it was a Duke lacrosse.
Okay, and team. Basically she lied about it because there was a guy she liked and she didn't want him finding out that she had sex with these guys. And then when she got her sentence from the judge, she rolled her eyes at him. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't change people's minds, it won't matter because it's never going to get the attention because all of these companies work with the same mainstream media apparatus that will bury any case that doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah, I think that cases like that just get memory holed. And really, Depp versus Heard has been memory holed pretty severely too. I don't see many people talking about it anymore other than these faceless organizations that don't do anything except launder money.
I hope that they didn't have to wait till this amount of time to write a letter that was only that many pages long or that many paragraphs long.
Right. How inefficient are you? How long were you doing Zoom meetings and laundering money and committing tax fraud before you got around to making this letter? It would have taken me 5 minutes to type this up.
And all of those people made a lot of money off of it. A lot of money.
You think?
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure all the people that work for those groups have high salaries.
Yeah, and how much do you think each of the individuals that signed this petition, you can see their names at the bottom of the screen, how much do you think each individual was pitched to sign their name at the bottom of this letter? And it's a bunch of psychologists, professors, general experts in their field, authors, activists.
Lots of activists.
Yeah. Just all of these feminist organizations and
who just didn't watch any of the trial.
They don't actually do anything for women. They'll just defend the most indefensible woman because, I mean, she's gained the sympathy of a lot of people based on her looks, based on her acting skills. It's ridiculous. And I didn't even think that this still had enough space in the public consciousness to come up again.
We're still talking about it.
But people are really mad about the open letter. Like, it's not being accepted with open arms. I saw some Amber Heard supporter accounts on Twitter coming out to agree with it, but mainly people were trashing it. And also someone said, it's crazy how you can say Johnny wrote messages in literal blood calling Amber a word that starts with W. And people don't think that is abusive behavior. That really isn't the question anymore. It's about the social impact that the case is going to have.
That claim is also, it's so Hollywood.
I mean, both of them seem like huge attention seekers.
It's so Hollywood.
It was never really about defamation for either of them in the first place. It was about using the stand to gain public sympathy on social media. He's
getting his career back. He just did his show with Rihanna, not Rihanna. It's Rihanna with Savage. So we'll see. But it boggles my mind that if this had gone the other way and Depp had been found guilty, if she had sued him and he had been found guilty, anybody claiming advocacy or support of Johnny Depp would have been blackballed by society and told that they were an awful person.
I feel like Johnny Depp won the trial. I mean, there's no winner or loser really because it was a civil suit, but
I think he wins.
He won in the eyes of the public before it was even over, before it even began. People had already turned against Amber Heard for years before they did this trial.
Yeah, the relationship had been over for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Elon Musk will pay for the legal fees. It'll be fine. He'll use some of that Twitter.
Daddy Elon Musk.
Some of those $8 a month verification blue checks will end up going towards Amber Heard's legal defense fund.
My best advice for Amber Heard is change your name, go move to another country where they won't know who you are, and try to restart your career over there.
Become an indie artist. Just become really avant-garde. If Kevin Spacey's still working in Italy, she can go work elsewhere, right?
It's funny because all of these people have the capability of stepping away from the spotlight. And
you think so? Do you think that for a lot of them, this might seem a little off topic, but like they kind of become the same way that a famous musician does. They employ a lot of people, right? Like they've got their assistant and they've got their agent and they've got all these people taking a cut of their money. It's a lot harder to walk away when every single one of those people who financially benefits from your career is telling you not to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Understand that, but I doubt that Amber Heard, since this verdict is getting more work, therefore less reasons to employ anyone on her behalf.
Kai Rain says, not Elon killed her Twitter. Yeah, but also remember that somebody posted the screenshot of Grimes' Twitter being shut down and says, now we understand why Elon wanted Twitter so much. I like the idea of him and Nick Cannon are repopulating the world themselves with different levels of memedom.
Elon Musk is just using Twitter to get back at his exes.
He's just maybe that's where he's picking up all the babes. He's
actually,
he's going into the DMs.
He had like matching anime profile pictures with Grimes back when they were together.
Oh gosh.
I really miss when they were together. I thought that they were a good pair.
They were the Will and Jada of their time.
Oh no, no.
They were the Kanye.
I hate Will and Jada.
They were the Kanye and Kim of their time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
Will
right.
and Jada just makes me think of Jada like steamrolling Will.
Oh yeah, she wears the pants.
Recording him in their house,
and he's like, "Don't do that," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." Yeah.
Let's read some super chats. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, "Happy Monday, Brett."
The gaslighting
on,
is real, guys. By the way, the stream is still good so far. So I would like to know if you guys have an opinion. Should we continue the stream and finish the show? I got a couple of messages from people who did say that they were grateful that we restarted and continued the stream. So
I mean, it's still all in one piece on Spotify, Pandora, Amazon. Like if you listen to it instead of watch it, it's all in one piece.
It's all one big publicity stunt to get people to go over to the Spotify and just listen to it on Spotify. That's what we're doing.
This was all schemed by Dave secretly. Waffle Sensei said, "You can't see the biphobia because you're a biphobe, Mary. You scared? You scared of the bisexuals, Mary?"
Like, I'm saying, people forget how absurd that is. Like,
I didn't even know that she was bisexual, let alone did I care.
And in the face of evidence, imagine like, imagine like hearing everything you heard her say to him, all of the cruelty, all of the dismissal and volatile behavior, and then assume that it's because she sleeps with other chicks that you don't like her. Like,
no, I never saw anything like
punching
that.
Johnny Depp in the face and then laughing at him about it, but it's because she sleeps with girls that I don't like
it's
her.
Mainly because white women don't have as much leverage in the oppression Olympics anymore. So she had to be like, wait, I'm bisexual. You have to sympathize with me.
I remember when I saw an article. There was the day I gave up, when I really gave up on the culture war kind of and the idea of intersectionality, was when I saw an article that said black men are the white men of black people. And I'm just like, that's no more internet for me today. I'm done. I'm going home. I'm taking my bag and I'm going home. I don't want to be here anymore. Beam me up, Scotty. Take me away. Yeah. Let the aliens have this place. I surrender. White flag. Throw it away.
Bring that meteor.
Yes.
Caper2X said, "Who is running the pool when PCC is going to crash again? I will put money in 30 minutes from now.
He
Make
said
mine
that.
Marvel."
He said that at 3:07, so he thinks that by 3:37 that we crash. Thoughts?
Oh, okay.
Thoughts?
Caper2X also said, "Wait, is the chat subbing for guest host again?"
Yes, you are. You guys are our guest hosts today, and
You're
appreciate
always
you
at
really.
the table.
Though today they're particularly uninterested in us. They're having their own discussions
What
today.
are they arguing about?
What are they arguing about right now? There's some people that are talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. But after I said that, should we finish? Quiet Nari says, "Always finish, Brett, no matter what."
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett. Every time the stream cuts out, it's one hat I get. Mwahaha. I love your North Stars hat. Too bad they moved stick with the Wild."
I have my Minnesota Wild hats. The North Stars moved to Dallas, and then we didn't have a hockey team for a couple of years, and it was kind of insane because Minnesota is a very, very famous hockey state. And then we finally got the Minnesota Wild. But I did want to point out that, guys, now I don't want to jinx anything, but it's, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong. This is a lucky hat of mine. That's why I never wear it on the show. I saved this hat for a particularly important moment. So I don't know if it will hold up. I've worn this hat. I've worn this hat when I've had particularly like dangerous skating tricks that I wanted to do. And it was one of the rare superstitions. I don't consider myself a superstitious person, but I'm hoping that it goes through. But I do think that it seems to be the general consensus is that they think we should go to the finish the stream.
Tacty Platty said, "My sources say big avocado causes tech troubles. Too real."
I mean, and here's the thing. I'm not an avocado person.
Well, I'm an avocado person.
Are you?
Why aren't you?
I'm not an avocado
That's
person.
so immature.
Is it? Because I don't like avocados?
Yeah. Except it does match the consistency of baby food, so maybe I'm the immature one. Waffle Sensei said, "Can chat be the main guest host, though?" Dane is going to be seething if we say yes.
Dane will have much, much, much more to say on that than I do. That is still probably my biggest gaffe, and I've had plenty of gaffes. But after I said it, it was like, I imagine that if somebody looked back at the video, I say that to Ian, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just say? What does that even mean, main guest host? Guest host number 1, guest host number 2.
I wasn't going to say anything. I thought you weren't aware.
I brought it up. I know.
Later.
I was like, by the way, I'm going to head this off at the pass.
I'm really sorry.
Like, I'm going to head this off at the pass just so that as soon as we hit end on the stream, back when streams actually ended by our own hand, that I don't have to worry about Dane being like, hey, man, what the hell?
Dragon Stalin 1001 said, "Dang it. PCC will go down today because Mary is dead naming Amber Heard. LOL. What's her new name? I wasn't aware that she took on a new one."
Does she have a new name?
Amber Turd?
Oh,
I don't
maybe.
know.
Could be.
Caver2X said you two need to wear matching hats.
I could possibly get us some matching hats.
Okay.
I'm a hat connoisseur. of
You're
sorts.
like a snapback person, and I'm a beanie person.
Well, this is a rare example. This one and the Vikings hat are rare examples of when I wear snapback hats forward. Usually the build on the hat isn't as good, and it flattens out and becomes ugly, so you wear it backwards. But fitted hats you always wear forwards, because a backwards fitted hat, literally, you guys might not know this. If you put on a backwards fitted hat, a 50 Cent song will come on, and you will literally be transported back to 2003 with a backwards new era hat.
Carnell said, "Hail to all crisis actors. Sup, Brett. Hi, Mary."
He switches around the hail all the time.
Yeah, he's just trying to keep me on
impressive.
my toes. Tacti Plati said, "I'm Hispanic and don't like avocados either."
I am with you,
This
Tacti
is heresy. And Big Dave sent 99 cents without a message. Thank you. Biddy Beastly said, "Brett, if you've got a superstition, you're superstitious. Not superstitious, just another amount of stitious."
I just never was, but it became one of those things. Ooh, it says P. Oh, we got one more. But before I say that, there was only a few times when that would happen. But I am one of those people, though I don't consider myself superstitious in like the most common of ways. I am one of those people where, say you just got up, right, and you're getting up to go get dressed or go do something, and you stub your toe. I'm the person who thinks that is indicative of your whole day ahead. Like, I'm like, might as well just give up now.
You love superstitions and old wives' tales.
Apparently. And that's what the internet ruined it. So it's a problem.
Caper2X said PCC peeps hats.
We should make hats.
Definitely in the future.
I wonder if we could make hats. Would you guys buy a hat? I don't know. I don't know if people would buy a hat.
Bad App said, "Let's avocado." No thanks.
He's got a new logo today, too. Did you see that? New colors.
I didn't see that.
No, he's got new logo colors. Looking good, buddy. All right, we're moving on. We are going to talk about Lily Rose Depp. Oddly enough, go figure.
Yeah,
we were just talking about Johnny Depp.
In light of this open letter and a renewed conversation around Amber Heard and how annoying she is, people have trashed Lily Rose Depp on Twitter for not speaking out in defense of her dad when the trial was still going on. And she had to answer for that in an interview with Elle recently. So she addressed it saying, "When it's something so private and personal that all of a sudden becomes not so personal, I feel really entitled to my secret garden of thoughts." I don't like that wording.
Can we stop quick before we go on? This is what I mean when I say like everything seems like a prepared statement. Like no actual person talks like that unless they're writing it out.
Do you think she was given the questions beforehand?
Well, if not that, was this a typed answer?
This was an in-person interview.
So weird.
Maybe she just talks like that.
Okay.
She was raised by Johnny Depp, for goodness sake.
Then she is the exception, not the rule. But that's the type of stuff where when I hear that stuff, I'm automatically like, really? Have you heard me? I and ah like an absolute moron. I'm a normal person. See, I'm trying to like make it seem like me being the one who speaks poorly is the normal one. I'm gaslighting her. Like you with your eloquence, that's the problem. So continue.
Sometimes written interviews or like transcript interviews are awkward sounding though.
When I would get interviewed for like skating magazines and stuff like that, I always preferred the written ones to the spoken ones because I'm better written than I am verbally.
So Lily Rose Depp responded to the expectation that she speak out on behalf of her dad when the trial was going on, saying, "I think I'm not here to answer for anybody. And I feel like for a lot of my career, people have really wanted to define me by the men in my life, whether that's my family members or my boyfriends, whatever. I'm really ready to be defined for the things that I put out there." And she was also prompted to talk about the privilege that she has received being the child of two famous people, both Vanessa Paradis, is that how you say it?
I think it's pronounced Parody.
And of course, Johnny Depp. And she also was trashed for her statements on nepotism. She seemed to be minimizing the effect that nepotism has had on her life. She said, "I know my childhood didn't look like everybody's childhood, and it's a very particular thing to deal with, But it's also the only thing I know and a weird thing to navigate. It's different experiencing it firsthand rather than by proxy. I guess it's something I've had to make my own way with.
I can actually sympathize with that.
There's more though that you won't sympathize with.
The other part is way worse.
Yeah, she said, the internet seems to care a lot about that kind of stuff. People are going to have preconceived ideas about you or how you got here. And I can definitely say that nothing is going to get you the part except for being right for the part. That is factually incorrect, Lee Rose.
That's not even the worst part. It's the part
internet
after that.
Cares a lot more about who your family is than the people who are casting you in things. Maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that. It's weird to me to reduce somebody to the idea that they're only there because it's a generational thing. It just doesn't make any sense. If somebody's mom or dad is a doctor and then the kid becomes a doctor, you're not going to be like, well, you're only a doctor because your parent is a doctor. It's like, no, I went to medical school and trained.
Okay. Those are not
and the fact that she is comparing being a model at the height of 5'2"
yeah.
to becoming a doctor and going through 8 years of education to do so is really insane. Brazenly stupid.
The argument they would make, I'm guessing, would be that most actors do end up going to, whether it's the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts or Juilliard or any of these programs, but it's still far more subjective than the qualifying standards that come from actually becoming a doctor, which is board certified.
Yeah, exactly. I don't... for her statement on speaking out on that trial, I totally agree with her that she has a right to silence on anything. She doesn't have to speak out for her dad, especially because, you know, he's a grown adult. She is also a grown adult in the public eye and, you know, has a right to privacy.
That part I agree with. I don't think that anybody, no matter how closely related you are to someone, I don't think it's your responsibility to have an opinion one way or the other when it so intimately affects your interpersonal relationships offline.
Yeah, some people were just claiming that Lily Rose Depp is not grateful to her dad for the notoriety that she's gotten from him. Yeah. And it's shown in that she didn't speak about the trial. But really, I think it would have hurt her career and Johnny's reputation more if she had spoken out about it.
Yeah, it just adds more moving parts to an already kind of messy narrative and situation.
Yeah, so here are some tweets responding to Lily Rose Depp's comment. One said, Lily Rose Depp convincing herself her career is off her own merit is genuinely hysterical. Another said, Lily Rose Depp is not just a Nepo baby. She is a double Nepo baby. She's got nepotism flowing through both paternal lines. A poster child for nepotism, if you will. But we also what is she talking about?
But we also have to be careful because a lot of these same comments are made about like you only get this job because of your skin color. You only get this job because of this.
I think that's a lot different.
I'm just saying that the same logic to those people applies. The people who are applying the logic to that are the same people who applied the logic here, even if one has more validity than the other. I don't know. Well,
nepotism is claiming that people inherently linked to you by blood will show preference to you and give you opportunities that you didn't earn.
Open doors.
And it's okay to get doors open for you by that route in a way that you didn't deserve. That's not morally wrong.
It is, but it's up to
people
you
are
to
saying,
excel.
Yeah, it's up to you first to, you know, surpass the opportunity that you were given and prove yourself further than that. And secondly, it's on you not to deny the fact that it was given to you at first and that you got ahead of others in your industry because of the opportunity you got from your family name. That is all people are asking of her.
Oddly enough, professional wrestling is an industry where they actually embrace the bloodline and they end up talking about it. Like they talk about them being bred for success because they come from good stock, right? Like if a pro wrestler has a son that wrestles, if that wrestler was a big guy, the idea is that his son would be similar in genetics and that those natural gifts would be something to celebrate. Roman Reigns is like the cousin of The Rock, who's the son of his dad was like a member of the first African-American tag team champions. Randy Orton is like a third generation professional wrestler and his career has gone 17 million levels above what his dad and his grandfather both accomplished. both in length of career and amount of accomplishments because of what he was able to prove he was capable of as a showman.
Yeah, I think a lot of celebrities, actors and actresses mainly, have been able to do that, surpass the family name that gave them their initial opportunity and the open door. Yeah. But I don't think Lily Rose Depp is one of those examples, and people rightly pointed that out. One said that she's out of touch. Another said that she's denying her privilege. Your money in status has contributed to your career, and that's okay.
That's what I mean right there. It's like I knew that the privileged crowd are going to come out in force.
It's different saying you got your job because you're white, you got your job because you're straight, white, a male.
It's just a different type of privilege.
All of that stuff. That stuff is actually conspiratorial because it's claiming that you got preference from a complete and utter stranger based on your surface level characteristics,
which we know society has pushed back on and is not
other than just being conventionally attractive. That's not a thing.
Yeah,
and it's not something you can prove either. Nepotism is out in the open.
Yep.
And there's no training involved or merit involved in becoming an ambassador for Chanel at 16 years old. Yeah. You're not self-made for doing that. And it's cool that you got that opportunity, but all people are asking is that she recognizes it was given to her because of her name.
And I think the best ones are the ones that embrace it, and or the ones think of an Emilio Estevez, who's Martin Sheen's son, kept his original last name, and Charlie Sheen kept that last name. Martin Sheen used that last name. Estevez is their biological last name, and he kept it at a time when they believed that using that last name because it sounded less American would actually hurt his career. And a lot of people still to this day don't know that Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen are related to Martin Sheen. I mean, obviously they know that Charlie Sheen is related to Martin Sheen, but that's somebody who went out on his own, and whether the opportunities arose from having a family member that was already in that industry, it's a matter of what he managed to do with it, right? So that proves that it can be done. You can make it on your own merit, even if you have some type of advantage at the beginning.
Yeah. Charlie Sheen's daughter hasn't followed in his footsteps in that way. Yet. Well, going on OnlyFans and all that.
Oh, and Denise Richards, who has her OnlyFans and then just had a very scary accident or not even an accident, got shot at. Her and her husband were in a car.
LA is getting crazy, man.
And then they elected Karen Bass. They did? Yeah, they elected Karen
No
Bass.
way!
Yeah, I just saw that today.
I thought Rick Caruso won.
I think they said Karen Bass won.
That sucks.
Oh, Johnny Derp says, so does Emilio Estevez have tiger blood? Yes, apparently he too would have tiger blood and is also winning.
So I want to talk about Zoe Kravitz. She was also recently asked to speak about the effects of nepotism on her career. She said that she, for a long time, didn't feel deserving of the roles that were given to her until she got cast as Catwoman in the recent Batman movie. She said, it's completely normal for people to be in the family business. It's literally where last names come from. You were a blacksmith if your family was the Black family.
Is that true?
I
don't think that's true. I think that's made up.
Someone fact check her on that. And she basically defended nepotism. And I don't think anyone is impugning nepotism for its own sake. They're impugning the celebrities who receive it and then deny that they received it.
Yeah. It really is. It really is about what you manage to do with the opportunities that are given to you. And I do have a lot of kind of, I guess it would be empathy. Would it be empathy or sympathy? Like to choose to enter that industry knowing that you're going to be compared forever to somebody who is very successful. That's not an easy path to follow. Like if all you're looking for is to make enough money to make a living and you're not actually passionate about the work, that's one thing. But if you actually, if we're to take them at their words and they enter a profession because they love it, just like their dad loved it, just like their mom loved it, and then they have to be consistently compared to that family member, that's not an easy path to take. Even if it gets you the roles,
Sure.
That's not going to get you the same level of recognition. And then you're kind of setting yourself up for kind of a tougher journey. It's kind of like we talk about, there is such a thing as kind of setting yourself up for failure. I talk about how when they cast based on race and gender and people get angry because off the bat you're at a disadvantage because people are second guessing whether you got that job of your own volition. You're kind of doing that to yourself by choosing to be in the same field as a parent who was successful doing the same thing.
Yeah, I suppose if you're the child of two performers who are rich, you actually
extremely
have
successful.
every path open to you, more than just becoming an entertainer. You can pretty much do whatever you want. Following in their footsteps in going into the entertainment industry wasn't forced upon them.
The more interesting stories always to me is when they go to do something completely different. They become a doctor, or they become a lawyer, or they go and raise alpacas somewhere.
Or if they're just like not
to me.
relevant to the public consciousness. Like I saw paparazzi were stalking Paul McCartney's son, who is like middle-aged and barely relevant. I know that he had a short-lived music career. But they were like stalking him while he was on the way to a coffee shop, taking pictures of him.
Is there a lot of money to be made in following
Paul McCartney's 45-year-old son around? I don't know. Apparently, yeah.
It doesn't seem like that's actually a relevant thing in the world today.
Yeah,
like who's paying for those photos?
Another comment that we have on nepotism comes from Willow Smith.
She does, however, look exactly like her mother, Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz looks like a carbon copy.
Like they literally just picked her up and just hit Control C and then Control V.
Could be her older sister.
And then de-aged her, yeah.
Yeah. So here's Willow Smith's comment to the Rolling Stone when she was asked how she feels about the label Nepo Baby. I don't focus on how other people feel about me. If you love me, amazing. If you hate me, fantastic. That's none of my business. I was put on this planet to be someone who uplifts the lives of people with my art and my words, and that's it. That's pretty much how I feel. Anyone can feel how they feel. I don't mind.
I actually am completely fine with that statement. As insufferable as most of the Smith family is, that's actually a fairly reasonable take, I think.
Yeah, I do.
Like, she's right. You cannot, it's the same thing here. Like, I read comments, people saying stuff about me on this channel, however small compared to them. It's like, I can't control how you feel about me. I can't control how you take what I say or what I believe. And that's not really up to me. It's kind of, we all have our own responsibility to seek out the truth wherever we find it when we disagree with someone. And it's not really on us if somebody else disagrees or doesn't like what we say.
Specifically in the discussion of Hollywood nepotism, there is a lot of Nietzschean, ressentiment or whatever, however you say it, where, the people who didn't receive this privilege are pointing it out and labeling it a moral evil.
That's a big problem with society right now. That's a huge hang up in our culture right now is that label.
They're labeling nepotism as an evil simply because they didn't have the luck of being born into it, when really it is actually a moral good to, give opportunities to the people you're related to. Yeah. I think it's a good thing and something that, no one deserves to be trashed for receiving or giving to their family members. However, I guess the conversation around privilege based on race, gender identity, sexual orientation has kind of co-opted the conversation. Because now, if you're given anything and you didn't, or if you had to earn anything, if you were given anything that you didn't earn, there's all of this baggage attached to it based on your immutable characteristics. One of them is your last name.
That's unless I know that people don't see that same similarity, but I see the same thing kind of with your race now. Like you're now, whether we think that it's real or not, or that that we believe that people are inherently giving you opportunities based on what you look like, which we know is silly.
I wouldn't compare it to the idea of like critical race theory. Yeah. I would connect it to affirmative action.
Yeah.
Nepotism is basically affirmative action by blood. Right?
Somebody should write a book. Affirmative Action by Blood, the story of nepotism in Hollywood.
That's literally what it is. And no one is saying you're a bad person for receiving an opportunity from an affirmative action program. They're just saying don't deny that your opportunity that you got from affirmative action got you where you are today.
Johnny Derp says nepotism props up people with meager talent who couldn't attain the heights on their own merit. But it's always cool when they do succeed. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that it's the greatest practice, but it's a cultural inevitability in Hollywood, given the subjectivity of the art that they create, that there is no right or wrong answer. You just know a good performance when you see one. So could they have done a good job? Maybe, maybe not. Is there an actor who's more qualified who could have done a better job? Probably, maybe. But a lot more goes into casting than just the best actor for the job nowadays.
Speaking of casting, we have another nepotism baby to talk about. They're just stacking up. It's nepotism day on Pop Culture Crisis.
Yes.
Armie Hammer might be getting casted in a possible sequel to 2017's Call Me By Your Name, according to the director, Luca Guadagnino.
What's the last name Guadagnino? What is that Italian?
I'm not sure.
That was half a joke. But I'm just saying, if Kevin Spacey is still working in Italy, then the fake cannibal can get jobs too.
He said, I would love to make a second, third, and fourth chapter of all of my movies because I truly love the actors I work with, so I want to repeat the joy of doing what we did together. It's a wish and a desire, what he said about Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah.
I have not made up my mind about what would be the story. And when he was asked if he would specifically recast Armie Hammer in it, he said, yeah, of course. I don't know if that is a matter of course, because he got a lot of backlash for saying this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people saying you're excusing Armie Hammer of the allegations
of what? Of fake cannibal? I guess there's the one actual assault allegation. The rest of it's fake.
Yeah, I feel
fake text cannibalism. That's not a thing.
Well, here's another weird part of it. Armie Hammer's co-star in Call Me By Your Name is Timothée Chalamet. And Luca Guadagnino just made another film called Bones and All, starring Timothée Chalamet
about cannibalism,
called like a sexy cannibal love story. I don't know what to make of that. I haven't seen either of these movies.
Wait.
And I've seen some comments saying that Call Me By Your Name is a very creepy movie. Basically about an older man seducing a young underage boy.
Ugh.
I don't know how true that is, but creepy if true, yet unsurprising when it comes from Hollywood.
So what is the difference between, this is kind of a joke, but what is the difference between a not actually being a cannibal and just having a weird fetish like Armie Hammer does, in which he talks about something in text but doesn't act on it, and somebody who writes a script on it, which is just verbalizing the same thing but in story form?
Well, Armie Hammer was only sending those texts because I think he is a deeply uninteresting person.
He's just really boring.
He's
like, my family's rich.
He thinks that taking on some weird kink is a personality trait.
Hey, Armie Hammer, he's another one.
That's all I think it was.
Who's kind of a, not just a nepotism baby, but made it. I mean, I'd never heard of who his family was, and then when finally somebody said Armand Hammer, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering why he went by Armie, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Some person said about Call Me By Your Name, this movie was disturbing and uncomfortable. The fact that a whole 25-year-old that looked 40 was hooking up with a minor 17-year-old was weird AF. Sorry. So people are saying, please don't make a sequel altogether because this movie was just creepy. And I'm not surprised to hear that this came from Hollywood and had a huge amount of popularity because they're constantly trying to normalize weird sexual deviancy to the public.
They're pushing it ever so slowly forward and making everything acceptable to the public in a way it's really okay. This is kind of an aside, but I've been watching a show called Saving Grace, which was like a police drama starring Holly Hunter from like 2007, and it's really funny because the show is based around the concept that this police officer, she gets into an accident and has an angel that's essentially like interacting with her throughout the show and trying to turn her life around. And it's very, very interesting because the character itself is very, very damaged. She's an alcoholic. She smokes constantly. She's having one-night stands. She's sleeping with married men. And I think about how they put it against the backdrop of religion, and I just can't imagine that show being made today because the religion is portrayed. She pushes back on it in a way that's predictable of somebody who grew up in a religious household who rejected the practice. So it's honest for the story, but they frame the religious aspects of it for the most part as a positive thing. And I think about how, just like we're talking with sexual deviancy being, pushed more and more forward, it's only 2022. This show came out less than 2 decades ago, and you're so far away from seeing anything like that type of story being told that it feels like it goes slowly, but it really doesn't. Everything is happening very, very fast. It's just the internet happens at such a fast pace now that you blink and 10 years have gone by and look how far we've fallen as a culture.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's disappointing. And as far as recasting Armie Hammer, I think that the cannibalism allegations are the least anyone has to worry about. The real essay allegations that I saw about Armie Hammer were pretty disgusting and concerning if true.
But again,
but it seems like nobody really cares. It was kind of weirdly overshadowed by the cannibalism text.
In the documentary fell down the memory hole as soon as like nobody cared.
And it wasn't even a documentary, was it? It was a docu-series.
And it's like everyone's like, yeah, but Dahmer's out now, so we'll just watch that. He eats people.
Yeah, for real.
He actually does. He's not a poser.
Just sext Instagram models about eating people. He actually eats people.
Dahmer put his people where his mouth is. It's exactly what he did.
Yikes. So a lot of people were saying the amount of women defending him in the comment section makes me nauseous. Another person said that's actually repulsive. The fact that he could still get work after what he did to those women disgusts me. I don't think it's all that surprising, though.
But what he allegedly did to those women, because we can't know.
Yeah, the text messages are the least interesting thing about Armie Hammer. Yeah. I don't know how do I feel about that. I don't think they should make a sequel to this movie anyway, though, because I hear that it's just creepy pedophile propaganda.
It would be funnier, though, if they're like, look, we heard you're a cannibal. We don't like that. We heard that you assault women. Yeah,
that kind of makes up for it.
We don't really like that either, but we found out that you were a product of nepotism, and we can't do that at this production. There's too much credibility to be lost by finding out that
was
you had
the final straw.
Like abused some women, ate some women, but has a famous parent or has famous family. That's a bridge too far, my friends. Not on our watch.
By the way, do you think Zoe Kravitz gets more privilege from her mom or her dad?
Probably her dad. The dad, the last name is Kravitz is his last name, and Lenny Kravitz is the one. I didn't know who she was.
Lisa Bonet, I think.
I didn't know who she was.
Do you think that Zoe Kravitz is going to outdo her dad in notoriety at all?
No, I do not.
She still has time.
She has plenty of time, but Lenny Kravitz was a pretty big... But he was also a very big deal at a time when being a part of the Hollywood machine meant that you reached everyone, whereas now so much of entertainment is decentralized through social media that I don't think it has... Like, she will have to work even harder with both online and in mainstream projects to be able to reach that level of fame. Everyone knows who Lenny Kravitz was because at that time, you only heard so much music.
Sure. So let's go to Super Chats.
Do it. We got a couple.
Bad App said, what does the half avocado say to the other half? You complete me.
That is adorable. Are you one of the halves?
That was stupid.
Are you one of the halves of the avocado? Are you the other half? No?
Absolutely not. Waffle Sensei said, I'm better written than I am verbally. Brett Dasovic.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That was fine. I could have said better written than I am spoken, but whatever. I take a personal offense, and I'm
better at writing than speaking.
And I am canceling the stream because everyone's making fun of my speech impediment.
The chat just got canceled. Did you hear that?
I did. I canceled them because they're being mean to me, and I can't take the pushback.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, I don't like avocados, but have the knack of picking near perfect ones. Only way I'll eat anything avocado is fresh guacamole with lots of lime juice. Ooh, you're making me hungry.
We've got one here. This is not a super chat, but David says avocados originally came from Mexico and Central America, where the indigenous Nahua people, is that how you pronounce that? Found them. Back then, avocados were called the I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not saying it, especially after ever insulting my speech patterns. That's fine. So I didn't know that. I didn't know where they came from.
Yeah, they're from Mexico.
They're saying it also means testicles.
Really?
Yes, the word.
Oh, okay.
The word I can't pronounce.
That's funny. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, the name Smith is from the blacksmiths who were never sent to war because they made the weapons.
Ah, that is very
That's why so many of them survived, and it's one of the most common names now.
Perfect.
BMF Nate Dogg said, hey guys, knock knock.
And then we're supposed to say who's there. And then he says,
Ligma. Ha 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 ha. I've heard it both ways. Said, love you guys. Good job this week, though all the crap with the stream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually needed that. I needed the pat on the back. I need my validation because it has been a hell of a week as far as trying to...
We need some animal crackers and apple juice right now.
I need a spa day.
And a trauma blanket.
I need a spa day for sure.
Let's move on and talk about Jon Stewart. He recently showed up on Stephen Colbert and defended Dave Chappelle for his monologue. that a lot of people criticize, saying it popularized anti-Semitism. So he said that he is personal friends with Dave Chappelle, and they correspond regularly. They've known each other for a long time. And as unfunny as the beginning of this interview was, it's Stephen Colbert. What can you expect? I did admire and appreciate Jon Stewart's attempt at making light of the situation and having a bit of a sense of humor about it. He himself is an American Jew, and that means that he has more credibility talking about the things that Kanye has been saying, the things Kyrie has been posting, and then Dave Chappelle's set. So his basic point is you can't just put adults in timeout and silence them and expect more understanding to be reached. Yeah. His fundamental misunderstanding here, though, is that no one in this situation who is going on Twitter calling for censorship, none of them are looking for understanding. None of them are looking for a discussion.
They're looking for compliance.
None of them are looking for, cohesiveness or
they're not looking to actually learn something from one another or have a discussion. They don't believe in that.
Not at all. So that's Jon Stewart's misunderstanding of the dynamic here. But he said, Dave said something in the SNL monologue that I thought was constructive. He said it shouldn't be this hard to talk about things. I'm called anti-Semitic because I'm against Israel's treatment of Palestinians. I'm called other things from other people based on other opinions I have.
That's actually pretty. If he's critical of Israel's treatment of Palestine, that's a pretty bold stance to take as an American Jewish person, isn't it? Like, wouldn't that be considered fairly bold?
I mean, it's not super uncommon.
Okay.
But he's been outspoken about it for a long time.
Oh, by the way, the chat, they're all like counting down now till.
No.
We're working through it, guys.
It's gonna work this time. Don't worry. He said, but those shut down debate, whether it be comedy, discussion, or anything else. If we don't have the wherewithal to meet each other with what's reality, then how do we move forward? If we just shut it down, then we retreat to our little corners of misinformation and it metastasizes. And then he continued about Kyrie Irving, saying, this is a grown-ass man. The idea that you would say to him, we're going to put you in a timeout, you have to sit in the corner and stare at the wall until you no longer believe that Jews control international banking.
Not just that, but now you have to go and talk to all these people that you're going to be inherently in conflict with because you're being told that you're a bad person and you now have to go put yourself at their feet and grovel.
Well, they have this growing list of demands for him. Yeah.
Which is bonkers.
He continued, we'll never gain any kind of understanding with each other. Penalizing someone for having a thought, I don't think that's going to change their minds or gain understanding. And then regarding Kanye, he said, something Kanye said on his tour, he said, hurt people hurt people. I'm afraid that the general tenor of conversation in this country is cover it up, bury it, put it to the outskirts, and don't deal with it. Look at it from a Black perspective. It's a culture that feels its wealth has been extracted by different groups. That's the feeling in that community, and if you don't understand where it's coming from, then you can't deal with it. So I think he's proposing that Kanye's comments about Jewish power are really a misguided attempt at talking about rightful feeling of bereavement among American Black people, and that they feel that a certain future of prosperity has been stolen from them before they were ever born. I don't want to get into the merits of that discussion, but do
you think a certain amount of this is due to a culture that has kind of dumbed down the ability to have actual conversations with one another?
Not dumbed it down. There are people who are very smart who are shutting down the conversations.
But I'm saying, but also we don't talk to each other in the same way that we used to. Not in the real world. We argue through avatars on social media, and there's a lot less recognized humanity when you argue with someone online than there is when you have these discussions in person.
Yes. Yeah, there's less humanity recognized when you're talking to someone online. However, I push back on the idea that Twitter is or social media as a whole is bereft of real discussion, especially TikTok, because A lot of people who are older and don't understand what that platform is for or about, they assume that it's just like 7-second videos like Vine. And you'd be surprised at the level of discourse that people get into on that app.
I mean, I guess when I think of discourse, I don't think of when I think of social media discourse, I don't think of anything healthy. I don't see healthy conversations rarely happen in comment sections. In fact, my favorite thing to see is when somebody's like polite to someone in response and the person gets like taken aback and like they respond because you can't tell tone of voice when you're talking in transcript. They get taken aback when somebody's like,
they think it's sarcastic.
Yeah, they think it's sarcastic, and the person's like, I didn't mean it like that. And they're like, oh, wow, thanks. Like the default assumption online is that you're being sarcastic or rude.
Sure. But this isn't really about comment sections and how conversations go on the internet between ordinary people, because people like Kanye, people like Kyrie and Dave Chappelle, they are unique in that they have platforms. They can go on camera face to face and speak about anything at length.
Yeah.
Kanye has done that a ton. He goes on long-form podcasts all the time explaining his thoughts and feelings at great lengths. And, you know, a lot of people listen, but then the media reinterprets it, twists it into soundbite sentences that he says in the most inflammatory way. He doesn't really have a choice in how he's interpreted at that point. And then Dave Chappelle, who clearly is more clever and has more wherewithal with how he words things, is able to take the things that Kanye says and rephrase them into, you know, jokes that land, points that are really spot on.
The beauty of, we also have what Jerry Seinfeld basically said, which is that the
Jerry Seinfeld seemed rather checked out from the situation.
But he says that the monologue calls for a conversation. And I think between Jon Stewart and Jerry Seinfeld, it proves that what Dave Chappelle did achieved its goal.
Well, if you look at the interview with Jerry Seinfeld, the Hollywood Reporter, whoever was conducting this interview, seemed to be goading him into saying that Kanye and Dave Chappelle, that their comments made him uncomfortable. So he said, I was just watching Jon Stewart and Colbert, the debate that they debate the Dave Chappelle SNL monologue, and I'm curious where you fall on it. Did you find it funny? Jerry Seinfeld said, I did think the comedy was well executed, but I think the subject matter calls for a conversation that I don't think I'd want to have in this venue.
Yeah.
And then the interviewer said, but it made you uncomfortable. He said, which isn't a question, by the way.
No, it's
and he
not.
said, it provokes a conversation which hopefully is productive. So then they ask, what is the kind of conversation you would have with Dave? Because you seem to have a close relationship with him. And then Jerry Seinfeld said, I don't have a close relationship with him. Yeah. So he seems rather disinterested. And that just makes all of the backlash and anger that we've seen directed at Dave Chappelle over the last few days after that monologue seems so astroturfed. Yeah. Because when you actually go to Jews in Hollywood and ask them if they are made uncomfortable by what Dave Chappelle was joking about, they all say no.
Yeah.
It's just activists and, you know, butthurt nobodies on Twitter, Joe Schmo 32s, who already disliked Dave Chappelle to begin with for other reasons, who latched onto this issue to get the moral high ground. The Jewish people in Hollywood that he was referencing don't care about the jokes he was making. Yeah. They thought that it was funny, or they thought that he has the right to say what he wants to say.
But they did care about what Kanye had to say. Hence his...
Well, these specific ones did not comment on Kanye in any way that said they were offended.
Yeah. So it is interesting.
And Dave Chappelle is seen with more credibility than Kanye. So I think the responses to Dave Chappelle mean more.
Yeah. So it's I think it served its purpose. I mean, its purpose, I guess, is to make you laugh, but it opens a dialogue and allows people to actually have a discussion. And it's also funny to hear people finally coming around to the idea that maybe, hey, censorship and stopping somebody else from speaking doesn't actually make that viewpoint go away. Yeah. Only a moron believes something like that or doesn't understand history.
Props to Jon Stewart, at least for going against the grain and saying this. And also, I wanted to mention this. It's totally unrelated, but Jerry Seinfeld is making a movie for Netflix called Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story. And it's basically chronicling a dramatized version of like the space race between Post and Kellogg at like who was going to make the Pop-Tart first.
What does
Hilarious.
what does Post make? They make Raisin Bran, right? What the hell else does Post make for cereal? Is that still around?
They are still around. I think they make Cocoa Pebbles.
Sign me
I
up.
could be wrong about that.
Sign
I'm not
me
sure.
up. Now I'm hungry.
But weren't Cocoa Pebbles always the same as Cocoa Krispies?
No, Pebbles were round. The other ones were like Rice Crisps. Different, not the same thing. Other than they're both chocolate.
I guess.
Actually, the question is, guys, what is your favorite breakfast cereal? Other than if it's not waffles,
Please.
pancakes, or French toast, then what the hell breakfast cereal do you
All
eat?
we talk about here is breakfast.
It's literally all we eat. I see honeycomb. Somebody says, I love honeycomb. Honeycomb's good.
Yeah. Let's go to some super chats.
All right.
Bad App said, I'm a sad avocado because you make me pitiful.
Nah,
Get
I
it?
get it. Guys, we are coming up. It's an hour and 11 minutes in, so I'm just letting everybody know we're keeping this going. I have no other way to do this other than to acknowledge it until it passes,
Yeah.
whether for good or bad.
We're not going to just pretend that this isn't happening like we're North Korean or something.
I'm also not going to spike the ball too soon like I did yesterday.
Wait, what?
Well, like yesterday, I'm like, yeah, we did it. And then it cut out.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, don't celebrate too soon.
Bran Flakes, Chips Ahoy, Golden Crisp.
Chips Ahoy was good.
Yep. Grape.
I don't really eat cereal anymore, though.
Waffle Crisps. Oh, my God. I want some Waffle Crisp right now.
I never had that. Cheerios, I think, are top tier.
Regular Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios?
Regular Cheerios.
Frosted Cheerios.
No.
Frosted Cheerios are amazing.
No, regular Cheerios. Rice Krispies, top tier.
What the?
I like old
Do you have
people
COVID
ones.
or something?
No,
like, you
I
can't taste
like
anything
old
anyway,
people's
so you eat
cereal.
this old person cereal?
Yeah, and I love shredded wheat, and I love
How old are you?
well, I like the sugary ones too, but I
Cookie
don't like them
Crunch.
as much. I really like cornflakes. I love Special K with the
Oh my God!
strawberries.
No
in
wonder
it.
you're so.
I'm like an old boomer when it comes
You're-
to cereals.
You're
yeah.
super boomer. Like those, like literally, if there was like a game show where it's like you go into someone's house and you guess how old they are based on what they have there, and they saw all those cereals, they'd think you were
At
80
least I
years
didn't
old.
say Raisin Bran.
That's
And oatmeal is above all cereals,
it's
in my opinion.
yeah. I was a Honey Bunches of Oats fan.
Nah.
Or Chex Mix, like the cinnamon Chex Mix.
Oh no.
Yes. Yep.
Gross. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is really good. That's another one.
Also, Waffle Crisp is really, really good. I
I've
saw
never
that one.
had that
It's
before.
really good.
That must be some kind of Midwestern thing. Bad App also said, me and Brett can be avocado bros.
I don't actually know what that means.
When it comes from Bad App,
That could mean
I'd
anything.
be suspicious.
Is that like a Billy Eichner type of avocado bros? Because I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that.
High Voltage 75 said, time to start prepping the new stream, Brett.
Yeah, guys. One thing will be true of this is that next week or whenever this gets figured out, everything will feel like smooth sailing once we're not dealing with this
Finally,
anymore.
yeah.
But we're hoping that that's coming up. But if it does, guys, there will be a second stream. So I expect us to at least get some of you back over there.
Johnny Derp said sarcasm should have its own font or text color.
Somebody mentioned earlier, and it's one that I actually agree
tone
with.
indicators.
Well, somebody mentioned earlier up in the chat, and it's one that I actually agree with, and I've suggested it several times, is to put like the /S.
No,
Yeah.
no, I hate tone indicators.
for-
You should be able to know the tone automatically.
But the internet's not designed that way, especially when you're talking to someone you don't know.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
You're the drama.
Because if you see like the people asking for tone indicators, they're like, excuse me, I'm neurodivergent, they, them.
You don't need
didn't
to be-
tone indicate that this was sarcastic or serious.
Well, that's stupid because you don't need to be neurodivergent to not understand tone on the internet because of the way the internet is
Who
formatted.
cares? That's the chaos of it all.
Mary loves the chaos.
BMF Nate Dogg said Lucky Charms made frosted Lucky Charms for Christmas. Aren't they already frosted?
Or also,
There's literally a bowl of marshmallows.
what's the other one? The
What?
ones that they release at Christmas, the peanut butter peanut butter
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll think about it later.
It doesn't seem Christmassy, though. Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, will I get a new hat? May the odds favor me.
I am not giving away hats.
Now you guys are just rooting for the stream to end? What's wrong with you?
That's just rude. Rude.
Bad Up said, if you were a cereal, you'd be Cutie Pebbles.
Well, I don't want that. After Netflix made Cuties, I don't want that to be a thing.
Oh, no.
We don't want that to be a thing. All right, guys, we're moving on. We are at an hour and 15 minutes, by the way.
Okay.
So if it cuts out,
cross your fingers.
We got one more from BMF Nate Dogg. Says Life cereal. Oh, I got it here. Life cereal was the best thing Canada ever gave us.
I've never heard of that.
Life's good. It's got the 4 different colored logos for the word life. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, guys, we're moving on. Brendan Fraser's back in the news. He's got his big movie, The Whale, coming out this year. Get it? It's big.
Yeah.
No?
It's a big movie.
I thought it was funny. All right, so it says Brendan Fraser won't attend the 2023 Golden Globes. My mother didn't raise a hypocrite. So I'm going to try and get through this while
My mama ain't raised no hypocrite.
While also looking at the clock here and timing and watching the timer. So what happened was at 2003 at a Hollywood Foreign Press Association luncheon, Brendan Fraser was approached and groped by a member of the president of the Hollywood Foreign Press. What his name is, Philip Burke. And Brendan Fraser chose to speak out about that, and that did not go his way. As we know, his career definitely struggled. When he finally came out with it again in 2018, then people seemed to finally start listening to him, right?
Yeah. The Hollywood Foreign Press claimed that it was concluded Mr. Burke inappropriately touched Mr. Fraser, but the evidence supports it was intended to be taken as a joke and not as a sexual advance.
I get major frat house vibes. I don't know what Philip Burke looks like.
He's probably just socially unaware.
Yes.
But, I mean, Brendan Fraser probably didn't think it would be professional to retaliate immediately, and he was afraid of getting repercussions.
I think of
because of the way that you can get blacklisted for not getting along with the right people in this industry.
Jason Priestley punched out Harvey Weinstein at a party once because he knew Harvey Weinstein was a scumbag.
Yeah, didn't Brad Pitt also threaten to hurt Harvey Weinstein?
That makes sense, given that he's got his documentary coming out that no one's going to go see because
it's not a documentary.
Okay, his movie based on Harvey Weinstein.
But yeah, no one wants to watch a movie about journalists.
So it says, with the Globes will soon return on January 10th of 2023, though the one-year agreement with the broadcaster, Best Actor contender Brendan Fraser will not be in attendance for The Whale, and that is because he doesn't feel that they've made enough progress as a group that he can be a part of this.
And please note, he has not been nominated for anything.
No.
But he might be.
But Burke, the man who did this to him, was remained a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press up until 2021. This is what's very interesting to me. We've got 1 minute to go. Nope, we're at a minute 18. I'm just going through it. If we lose it, we lose it. So what happens is, Brendan Fraser files his Me Too allegation, essentially what amounts to a Me Too allegation in 2018. But that is not what does Philip Burke in. What does Philip Burke in is he wrote an op-ed in 2021 that's called BLM, a Racist Hate Movement. So it's a play the game of most aggrieved in this case, that the article written about BLM was enough to get him discontinued from his role as the president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, but not having an actual...
But not groping
an
actor.
Yes.
That's pretty insane. And it does show the values of these acronym organizations that... I mean, we looked up and tried to find out restlessly what the Hollywood Foreign Press Association actually does.
We can't figure it out.
Other than launder money, and we don't know. Other than hosting the Golden Globes, we have no freaking clue. And I can't help but think it's just money laundering. We looked into their finances, and it was just inexplicable.
And they make obscene amounts of money.
They do. And I don't know where any of it comes from.
Or where? What do they spend it on? Like they say it's
the Golden Globes.
Yeah, they spend it on
I don't know.
The Golden Globes. Also, I was going to hit the outro button.
No.
We have no idea where that money goes. So it tells you where their priorities are as an industry, that they're fine with somebody getting groped. They're not fine with you having an opinion on, and the funny thing is the 2018 stuff was right in the brunt of Me Too.
Right.
The 2021 BLM stuff is at least the year after the Summer of Love.
Same time difference from Me Too and like Summer of Love, different reactions. It just shows Me Too never had an intention of speaking out for all survivors, regardless of whether they were a man or a woman.
Brandon Fraser says, I knew they would close ranks, he said, coming forward. I knew they would kick the can down the road. I knew they would get ahead of the story. I knew that I certainly had no future with the system as it was. I think it was because it was too prickly or sharp-edged or icky for people to want to go first and invest emotionally in the situation. Think that's true? Is it because it's a guy? I mean, even in 2003, I don't think it would have mattered if it was a girl. I think she would have been ignored the same way.
Yeah, in 2003, it just wasn't the climate for coming forward and talking about these things anyway. And I
Sorry.
Are we good?
Well, we're good. And also, crisis party.
Oh,
going.
cool.
Yes. We love you guys.
Yeah, obviously, the culture has shifted, maybe for the worse in that regard, because I think that Me Too was always just a skeleton of a movement.
And speaking of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association doing nothing with all the money that they have, what did Time's Up and Me Too actually do with their money?
It's all just
nothing.
Fakery, really. The only response that the Hollywood Foreign Press has made to the situation of their former president coming out against Black Lives Matter is they've decided not to hold any press conferences at the Golden Globes. Other publications are going to hold press conferences because it turned out some celebrities thought they were asking too many intrusive questions.
I love
and it was making them uncomfortable.
You just can't ask any questions at all.
It said, instances of being subjected to intrusive questions were shared by actors, and due to this, they felt uncomfortable at the press conference, which had been considered mandatory for anyone who wanted a shot at winning. And they had to come out and clarify that it was never mandatory to do these press conferences in order to win a Golden Globe or be considered for one. But then again, like, maybe it was just an unspoken rule. There are a lot of those in that industry.
Poor Brendan Fraser. I mean, he's at least made his comeback.
That's what everyone says. Like, poor Brendan Fraser. His wife
took him to the cleaners, and
but people, like, he must feel so patronized because people treat him like he's a child, three-legged dog.
Yeah. I got a question in the chat. Keenan Smith. I'm sorry. 1,000 Foot Deep End says Brett. Oh, he deleted. Never mind. He retracted his message, so I better not read it. He asked what the official stream time was, but we are over an hour and 18 minutes.
Okay, we might have solved the problem.
Maybe. I'm not spiking the ball today until we're done with the stream. We're gonna stay humble today.
Yes,
stay humble.
Don't jinx it, okay?
We are definitely not doing that. So it's also like, I like the idea that there's even off limits questions at press conferences, which is always contradictory.
I don't know what they would consider intrusive.
Like, did you?
The whole point of press for celebrities these days is to reveal as much as possible, to the point that it almost makes the public uncomfortable with the amount you're revealing.
But also, we know that the press is no longer on the side of the public and getting them the information that they want. The press is on the side of the celebrities so that they can make them look good, so that they can continue to have access to them.
The breakdown of journalism wasn't just that journalists stopped looking for the truth in political matters, but that they stopped looking for the salacious lies in celebrity matters. And that's something I miss.
No, it's really.
I mean,
funny.
I really have no right to miss it because I didn't experience it firsthand. But like, I'm sure you remember, the tabloid culture never used to be so accommodating.
Well, I mean, there's still, like, maybe it's still there. I don't read the written tabloids like the Inquirer or anything like that, but maybe it's still there with those.
The change from print to mainly online is really inconsequential.
Yeah.
You would think that with the ability to have a camera on hand at any time and the ability for more people to send in tips, that there would be more juicy celebrity gossip, and somehow there's less.
Yeah, well, now it's phone videos of celebrities doing stupid things. I like it, but even we were talking about that one day. I was like, I miss it when Justin Bieber just peed in mop buckets, and
that was like the last bastion of just salacious celebrity.
That better not
scandals.
be what disconnects the.
Thank you.
That's what disconnects us. It's been the crisis party all along.
No, and we had problems with the super chats on Monday. Resolved. But.
Kiki says Inquirer. Yeah, one thing that somebody pointed out to me, a guy did a really good kind of modern art project where he took ridiculous headlines in the Los Angeles Times or the New York Times, and you just put them on a National Enquirer headline, on the design for the National Enquirer, and it shows you how ridiculous it actually is, because your brain is trained to look at the National Enquirer or any of those magazines as ridiculous, but it doesn't sound ridiculous when it's on the masthead of the Washington Post.
Yeah, if you take a New York Times headline and then put it on TMZ.
Yeah, exactly.
How does it change its credibility?
It doesn't really. Not all that much.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I had to say about the Hollywood Foreign Press. I think they're just a fake money laundering front.
Well, also the Golden Globes. Who's going to watch them this year without Ricky Gervais to tell them that they're all bad people?
I saw some people campaigning on Twitter to bring Ricky Gervais back as the next host of the Golden Globes, but I think he knew that the last time he hosted was going to be the last.
Yeah,
because
he wasn't planning to come back.
He might have been doing exactly what Dave Chappelle was rumored to do, which is he comes up with a fake monologue and then reveals the true one live on air. It's the first time anyone heard it.
Also, here's a question. So
he also said that he wouldn't return. He said F that.
Yeah. Is there a certain amount of, like, if this same story, if the Brendan Fraser story was swapped and this was a woman and all of this bad luck had happened to her that was kind of cycled out of like an assault allegation that happened 20 years ago, do you think that the narrative would be different? Now it's just, oh, poor Brendan Fraser, but most people are like, I don't know what's poor about, like, what the problem is. I just know that he had a rough time. People don't know that he was actually assaulted. I guarantee you.
No,
the average
I had never
person,
heard about this incident before.
That he was. So is this kind of speaking to the framing of the narrative, right? It's just he was just generally had a hard time, but nobody wants to point out that it's because he was what would now be considered a victim of what it would have been Me Too at that time.
Is it really all from that? I thought it was multiple.
But I'm saying, but that's kind of that's
personal
what
life.
That's what caused the Hollywood Foreign Press in the industry to shun him. But he had the other stuff happen because of his wife. But a lot of it was born out of this incident. And if this same story had happened to a woman, I think they would be championing that part of it, that she overcame a sexist, misogynist, abusive industry to make this big comeback, while never acknowledging the fact that they are part of the sexist, misogynist, abusive industry.
I think people like a good redemption arc, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman.
Dude, I have a problem.
Megan Fox had one.
I wonder about that now. Like, I love a good redemption story, but I wonder now how much, with a society that doesn't seem to really believe in redemption as much these days, it doesn't feel that way. At least social media doesn't really believe much in redemption.
An escape from blacklisted status. Okay. I think that Brendan Fraser was on certain blacklists, which Alec Baldwin tells us exist.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
There are many blacklists that there's no one official blacklist, but they all exist and have overlaps. I think Brendan Fraser was on a few. I think Megan Fox was on a lot of them. And there are other reasons for that. I mean, I think a lot of it was because she chose to have children and get married. Yeah. Which is very old Hollywood for them to shun her for that reason.
Kiki says none of the women appear to actually have said no. Brendan did. That's, I mean, a lot of it is like, I was...
Did he though? Because it doesn't sound like that from the way he recalled the story.
He alleged that Philip Burke, a former president and member of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, groped and assaulted him at a 2003 luncheon. I'm picturing like he's in like an airport, like ballroom. Like he's at like an airport Holiday Inn in like the ballroom where they hold weddings, and some guy just walks up behind him in a room full of people and attacks him.
He's like, "Hey!"
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how I'm picturing that. It says,
I don't think that he said anything at the time. It doesn't sound like it.
He says
I don't think you have to know that that's inappropriate, though.
He revealed that he's still frightened for the repercussions of coming forward. At the time of going public, the HFPA proposed Fraser sign a joint statement saying, although it was concluded, so they're saying that they wanted them to come out together and say this, that it was a big misunderstanding. Frat culture. It's frat culture. So I do believe that if this was a woman, if this had happened with a woman, she would be lauded for speaking truth to power in a way that they're not really saying about
that
him.
Kind of joke would have never been made to a woman, though. That joke is only one that a man makes to a man because they're making a joke out of the idea that he's homosexual.
No, because I'm thinking back to it's that famous gif of the guy at the red carpets and he's like squeezing Scarlett Johansson's boobs. And then she's just like, haha, yeah, get it, and it's just kind of accepted.
Oh, when did that happen?
That was in like a while back, and that was like just a thing. she didn't say anything about it. Presumably she was okay with it. Fine, that's fine. But I'm saying it doesn't mean it's out of the realm of possibility that a bunch of powerful men who run these associations that nobody knows about, but for some reason have millions of dollars, would be able to do that.
Same tone.
Perhaps not, but I do believe that whatever it was on the back end of it coming out of this, I think she would have been treated differently, or they would be talking about different aspects of the story than we are with him. It's just basically woe was Brendan.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. But we should see The Whale, I suppose.
Is that in theaters? I didn't see it in theaters anywhere.
I think it's getting a limited theater release, but
all right.
We'll see. So,
Waffle Sensei said, Mary is right. No tone indicators. Also, can I get a hat? Pretty sure you promised you would give out hats. Yeah, I remember that too.
Did we say that?
Yeah, you did.
What? Did I?
I remember that.
I'll say anything.
Bad App said, I be like a Cheerio, Honey Nut Cheerio.
Maybe we could have like a drawing or something for a hat. That might be cool. Like some type of...
Yeah.
We'll have to think about a way to set that up.
Yeah, we'll think about that. Nathan Koss said, sarcasm is too hard to convey in text.
Yeah, but that one is also I laugh at that one now because everyone uses that one. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like when liberals use the term based.
They do?
They use it for their own stuff. It's like, comment on a Cenk Uygur thing and say based. Like
the amount of right-wing memes that have been co-opted because the right wing literally creates them.
And the left doesn't know how to meme.
And they don't
because they're not funny.
Anything.
Because they don't have senses of humor because humor is punishable by banishment in their culture.
Dr. Platty said, they funnel and launder money for big avocado. So true.
Oh, the conspiracy has been revealed.
And Waffle Sensei said, hour and 20 minutes party.
We are at an hour and 31 minutes now, so we are presumably going okay, guys.
Yeah, we're okay.
We're doing all right. Of course. I'm not saying that. We're doing fine, but, I prostrate myself before the internet gods. Please do not make this bad for us.
Let's move on to Candace Cameron Bure. We were talking about her yesterday in the context of Great American Family and all of the backlash that she's gotten for moving on from her Hallmark days onto this alternative platform because of a controversy about their representation of LGBT.
Before we get into it, can I just point out that my desire most of the time to try and at least steel man the argument from the other perspective tends to make it seem like I'm riding the line here. I'm actually 110% in support of what she's doing with this network, and I think it's a great idea. I just think it's worthy to at least acknowledge that the other perspective from the people who are disagreeing with them, they at least have a right to be heard in the most flattering form of their argument, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I don't think that the concept is a good idea, or that it's born, or that I believe that it's born out of some type of hatred. I just really do believe that we should give both sides a fair amount of respect when we try to present their arguments. So
sure.
It's just so I'm
less of that persuasion than you are.
Whenever I'm editing it, I'm always like, man, I'm.
You sound like a milquetoast fence sitter.
And to be fair, I am of sorts, probably more so than some. I don't think of myself that way, but I try to present both. Some would say, my brother or my friends would say, maybe it's more that you're that you're a contrarian. That you just want to present the other argument for the sake of presenting the other argument?
I just think given the absolute vitriol and flaming hatred from the left to Candace Bure, we ought to just represent them for exactly what they are.
And these ones, yes. Especially
there have been more reactions to Candace Bure and her comment that Great American Family movies are going to put the focus on traditional marriage. This is something that Candace Bure said in response to a question about whether they were going to represent same-sex couples in their movies. They're not. That is why she said it. She didn't say it of her own accord. So here's some reactions. Firstly, from JoJo Siwa of Dance Moms fame. And
JoJo
we actually
Siwa
talked
is Maren
about
Morris levels of annoying.
Oh yeah, she's really annoying. So they actually had a spat earlier this year that I think we did talk about, where JoJo Siwa made a TikTok and implied that Candace Bure was the rudest celebrity she had ever met. And then Candace Bure, the sweet woman she is, was like, oh my gosh, JoJo, I'm so sorry that happened. And it was only because when JoJo was like 11 years old, she asked for a picture with her, and Candace Bure told her, not right now. And they were on a red carpet when that happened.
Dead Man says it is pronounced Bure.
Bure? Like puree? Like a baby food?
Like Buhrei.
Oh. I don't know if I believe that.
That makes sense because there was a hockey player named Pavel Bure, and I think it's spelled the same.
Huh.
The reason I want to point out is how she reacted to JoJo Siwa in that one is the same thing that's going on now. She's being nothing but supportive, and then everybody else is getting really angry and asking and talking about how she's angry. Holly Robinson Pete says she also starred in several Hallmark films, but she says, go make the content that you want to make, but why insist on castigating others? It's the judgment for me.
Like, how was she castigating anybody by responding to a question that outright asks, are you going to represent same-sex couples on Great American Family?
She did the most polite answer
wasn't
ever.
Even a no. It was a roundabout answer of
maybe
no,
later.
We are going to show traditional marriage.
And I think what the idea is like maybe once we get off the ground, like I don't think that's what they want.
The CEO said no doors are closed.
So like maybe down the line,
in response to that question,
once down the line, once we've established ourselves more,
I think that's too weak of a response, in my opinion. But they're clearly not intending to do that anytime soon. So JoJo Siwa went to Instagram and said, honestly, I can't believe she would not only create a movie with the intention of excluding LGBTQIA+, but then also talk about it in the press. This is rude and hurtful to a whole community of people. And then Jodie Sweetin, a co-star of Candace's on Full House, went and commented on JoJo's post saying, you know I love you. And, this is just a perfect example of one of these celebrities who pretends to be this magnanimous, sweet, coexist, preachy type of, kumbaya person, but in reality spits the most vitriol and hatred and ignorance.
Nobody is meaner than the person who has "be kind" in their profile.
Yeah, that's exactly how Jodie Sweetin comes off, because I remember us covering an incident after the overturning of Roe v. Wade when Jodie Sweetin was found in a video protesting on a freeway in LA, blocking the freeway so that people couldn't get to and from their jobs. Yeah. And she was shoved by a cop while she was being extremely belligerent. And then she was getting praised on the internet for doing this, for civil disobedience.
She's a crybaby.
Yeah, exactly. And then when that happened, she said, our activism will not be deterred by any of this. Like, we're going to keep going and until our voices are heard, or some BS like that. She's absolutely indoctrinated. I'd hate when people like this pretend to be stable, because she's clearly a very angry woman.
So the problem is that they've learned that they know how to speak in coherent sentences, and it gives the illusion of stability, and they're not stable. I do want to point out that this is my problem with what JoJo Siwa said. I can't believe that she would not only create a movie with the intention of excluding LGBTQIA+, but then would also talk about it in the press. First of all, my first problem with that is the second part. It says, how dare you have an opinion I disagree with and have the gall to talk about it in public? But my other point is that any story is a self-contained entity that has parameters which you must meet, and there is no obligation from any writer to include or be inclusive of any group, be it straight, gay, transgender, anything. There is no responsibility on their part to do so, and nor does it make them bigoted for not including anyone. One could make the argument now that we live in a culture where you're not even allowed to write about something that you don't understand. So perhaps those writers, if they are not gay, if they are not bisexual, if they are not lesbian, if they are not transgender, they don't understand those cultures. Therefore, they cannot write a story about it anyways.
There's no winning.
There
You're
is-
damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, so you might as well not try.
We are now in a culture with endless other options full of inclusivity for you to choose from. Maybe 20 years ago, I could buy that this is an argument from somebody who's extremely ahead of the curve and they're trying to force change, but the change has already been made culturally. I wouldn't expect Bros to have a bunch of straight people in it for my representation, nor the L word would have required, although I don't remember if there were straight couples in the L word. Like, there is no reason to include it if that's not the story you're telling. The problem is they are conflating the idea that you telling a story that doesn't include them as a bad thing rather than just something that is. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem.
Without any intention behind it. So Candace Bure's response to People magazine was very unbothered. Once again, she seems totally unshaken, which is really rare to find in Hollywood these days because, you know, usually the story when a celebrity receives any backlash is they immediately fold and they immediately apologize.
It's almost superhuman just how like polite and like annoying, almost like if I'm the naturally angry person, I'm gonna look at the person being really nice and get annoyed because I'm not getting the reaction out of them that I want.
Yeah,
and they're getting that. And
this
I
is
feel
just
like that's
stoking the flame even more.
Do you believe that this is because of her faith? That she feels a certain amount of contentment and drive and security in her position that comes from her religion, her belief in her faith.
That's what she's outwardly saying, and I totally believe that that's an aspect of it. I also think that given her age, she's at a stage in life where she is sure of herself and she's established her career, and now she has the freedom to do what she wants instead of following orders.
I see this stuff, and I'm going to give you guys this from the perspective of someone who's not religious. I see her behavior, and I wish that I could find myself in that realm, right? That I could have that call to faith that she does, because that's how you actually win over hearts and minds, right? I can't believe, how did we get to a point in our culture where these reactions are the ones that are winning people over and not this reaction?
Yeah, let me read an excerpt or two from Candace Bure's statement. She said, "All of you who know me know beyond question that I have great love and affection for all people. It absolutely breaks my heart that anyone would ever think I intentionally want to offend or hurt anyone." She continued, "To the members of the media responsible for using this opportunity to fan flames of conflict and hate, I have a simple message. I love you anyway. To those who hate what I value and who are attacking me online, I love you. To those who have tried to assassinate my character, I love you. To everyone reading this of any race, creed, sexuality, political party, including those who have tried to bully me with name-calling, I love you. I have long wanted to find a home for more faith-based programming. I'm grateful to be an integral part of a young and growing network."
How can you not love that? Like, I don't know if that's being just because she's been media trained her whole life. I don't know if
I'm sure that's part of it, but also I see this genuine peace.
Yes. Yeah, there's no inner conflict there.
And my reaction would be like, "No, F you guys. Here's why I'm right." And it's really telling that she's just so confident in her stance and her values that she doesn't even need to respond to these people. And they're intellectually dishonest, disingenuous, clamoring at her feet. They're ankle biting because she's someone who's capable of creating something new, doing it independently, and they are not capable of that. They have to be loyal to a mega corporation
because their ideology is generally unfavorable. Therefore, they need it to be bludgeoned onto you by bigger properties that didn't start out that way.
And mind you, Hallmark raised all of its money and all of its notoriety off the backs of stories featuring, guess what? Traditional marriages, traditional relationships.
And I think it does speak to the population. There was a comment earlier that says after, I'm going to paraphrase here because it's gone past there. He talks about basically like since 2016, all the craziness since then, they're looking forward to seeing traditional marriages and families shown on screen. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't actually believe that there's a problem with the concept of representation. I believe that there's a humongous failure in execution and a fault in many of the people that use it as a political bludgeoning tool rather than something to actually aspire to.
Yeah, and I think that there is a genuine case for representation when we know that the powers that be actively discourage traditional marriages and traditional family structures from being portrayed in media.
Yeah.
That's a genuine call for representation right there.
And it's one of those things. I think it's why maybe it's like a selling point for the nostalgia, right? People aren't they're not just nostalgic for the properties they once knew. They're nostalgic for the values that were once instilled in society in a way that affected them in a way that maybe that without more self-reflection, they can't really point out as to why they want it or why they're missing it or why they need it back in their life. But that might play into the nostalgia a little bit, right? Like that sense of stability, that sense of concrete values that you can feel the world feel stable under your feet because the world around you makes sense through your value system. And as that's eroded little by little, we as a society become more unstable. And what people are longing for isn't necessarily just properties that they loved, but a time when those properties were in a society that made more sense.
That's that capitalism of the spirit. The good wins because it has to, and the bad loses because it simply has to. It's not appealing, and there's no getting around that. Bros failed as a rom-com because it's an artificial attempt at representing same-sex couples who don't live lifestyles like that.
Yeah, and like insult to those that are. Think about all the people. A little bit before your time, but like I think about all the people when we were going through the actual civil rights battle to legalize gay marriage. Whatever people think of it.
It's not civil rights,
okay. If we're talking about, that's what a lot of people believe to be the last great human rights case in this country. Whether we call it a human right, whatever.
More like that's how government encroachment upon religious institutions.
The point is, at that time, the argument that they were making is, we just like you. We do not want to be looked at as stereotypes. We want to go to work and come home to our spouses and be who we are without fear of reprisal. And that was something that rallied a lot of people of my generation behind that cause because it was something they could understand. They understood that despite the little differences, they lived a similar existence to them. What we see now is not that same similar existence. That's not what we see at parades. That's not what we see at Drag Queen Story Hour. And it's certainly not what we see in these media portrayals. And that's where they lost people. And that's kind of a heartbreak because it goes to that notion that activists don't understand that there is no end to their cause because by solving your problem, you put yourself out of a job. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are now. We're past the point of the problem's was rectified. You legalized the cause you were looking for. And then now there's just more and more to do, whether we think that's right or not. But they have more and more they want to do that we see as increasingly ridiculous in outside of a traditional value system.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go straight to Batman, shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we just go straight to
This is more a G4 TV story than a Batman story. So we see someone who was an interviewee at G4 TV for the position of a host come out and talk about the kind of questions they were asking potential employees. So here's the quote. "I was already sus of G4 TV during the interview process. They offered me a host position where you have to relocate out to LA. So I go to the interview process and the guy that was interviewing me goes, 'So why should we cancel Batman? Why do you believe we should cancel Batman?' And I was like, why do you believe we should cancel Batman?" Wording is important, guys.
Yes.
And I was like, why are we canceling Batman? And he said, because he's rich and he's white. People believe that he just skates on the law and that if someone of color did the same thing, they wouldn't get away with it as he does.
Ignoring all of superhero culture for years and years and years and years.
And after asking that was a real-ass question they asked you, she said, "That's literally what G4 Recruiting asked me and whoever their manager was or whatever their interviewers were doing."
Let's accept now that this was always going to fail whether Frost had given her rant or not. If this was the general idea behind your company culture, you were screwed from the beginning because you were entering a space that would not adapt to this. Gaming culture, internet culture does not care if Batman is white.
Right. Okay, so Frost G4 TV is to Hallmark. Wait, no. Frost G4 TV is to Olivia Munn G4 TV, as Hallmark is to Great American Family.
Not really, because they're not the same company. Not really.
Well, it's analogous, right? Because one thing has a creative energy that people are genuinely attracted to, and the other one is, bereft of fun, bereft of actual comedy and entertainment.
All of these,
and it's just about lecturing.
All of these, whether it's Cinema Blend, Kotaku, all of these magazines literally sound like they would be the absolute least fun people in the entire universe to hang out with. There's a couple of them, and I don't know their name. Actually, I do know their names offhand, but I'm not going to bully anyone. But there's some of the writers at Cinema Blend. I'll be reading an article, and I'm halfway through, and I know who wrote it before I'm even done because of they all have their tonal snark, right?
Yeah.
That you can understand, and as soon as you hear that some part of that story, you're like,
immediately know.
You know who it is.
Yeah. So this content creator also said, this is one of the reasons why they didn't pursue me to the next level. To be honest, if I was getting robbed or assaulted in Arkham or something, I wouldn't really care who's saving me. I wouldn't care if he's rich and white. I just care enough that he's actually saving people. I asked, are you going to do anything about it? And he didn't like that answer. So, clearly this, even though Batman is not real, this translates to how these people, these severely brainwashed people, relate in the real world.
Yeah.
They see anyone who is white or who they perceive to be
privileged
rich. In any way, rich.
So the question is, would
they can't do anything good?
Yeah. Would the same thing have been said if Batman had not been a straight white character? Would they have said the same thing? No.
No, that would be unfair stereotyping.
Yes, you would be stereotyping.
It's just like, if you fit these certain categories, if you're a straight white cis male, you are irredeemable. There's no coming back from it. And it's just such an odd question to ask. I'm sure it was related to the conversation that they were having beforehand, but still. It's such a manipulative wording to say, why do you believe this thing?
It's also inherently political. Stevie J in the chat says you can't directly ask their politics, so they ask, what would you cancel Batman? That's a way of, you'll understand, like, it's kind of a sneaky way of understanding someone's worldview without actually asking them their worldview.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's just, the wording is so clearly manipulative.
Yes.
And intellectually dishonest.
And there are rich,
assuming that you believe this first and then asking you why.
There are rich, famous superhero characters of all races, genders, creeds, and colors. It does not matter.
And weirdly enough, Superman has been criticized for the exact same reasons. That he's white, or that at least that he appears to be a normal white man, and he gets away with, destroying cities and in the process of saving people because of his skin color. I've seen people actually say that, as insane as it sounds.
Serge X is talking in the chat. They're talking about Spider-Man is poor, though. Yeah, but they don't like Spider-Man either because he works with the cops. Remember, they tried to cancel Spider-Man.
There's always something, though. Can they find any superhero who perfectly aligns with their values and doesn't have any flaws?
No.
That wouldn't be an interesting character anyway.
It's boggles my mind that they thought that, given what who their audience was before, that these types of questions would lead to the type of people hiring the type of people that would actually make them any money, because it was never going to, not in any real way. Not to mention, I did watch a video. There was a Clownfish TV. By the way, this article is from Clownfish TV, guys. I do recommend, if you're not already, I'm sure a lot of you are, subscribe to them over at Clownfish TV on YouTube. They're a fantastic channel. I really, really enjoy Neon and Geeky's work. But it's one of those things where they had like a $25 million studio that they were producing it in, also that they could make a show that looked like it was done out of someone's basement. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Then again, maybe they didn't have streams cut out at 1 hour and 18 minutes. So what do I know?
By the way, I just sent you a clip talking about this Batman situation that I'd like to play.
Let me find it. Maybe this is what Twitter. All right, so let's make sure we're still connected here, guys.
I certainly hope so.
It's like, maybe that's what cut
Says
out.
we have a good connection, so
Let's play this.
we should be good.
Just go and I can like talk about stuff.
Yeah.
G4. What do you mean?
Okay, so like people are always like, yo, G4 shut down because of this or that, and I'm like, bro, I was already sus with G4 shutting down from the interview process, because like the guy that was interviewing me, he goes, so why should we cancel Batman? And
What?
I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, why do you believe we should cancel Batman? And I was like, why are we canceling Batman? He's like, because he's rich and he's white. And I was like, well, what do you?
Thank you.
What do those two have to do with each other? Like, yeah, people believe that he just skates on the law, and that if someone of color did the same exact thing, they wouldn't get away with it like he does.
That's a real ass question that they asked you?
That's literally what G4 recruiting asked me. If I was getting like robbed or assaulted in Arkham or something, I wouldn't really care who's saving me. I don't care if he's rich and white. I just care enough that he's like actually like saving people. Because are you gonna do anything about it? Yeah, he didn't like that answer. Then later on, another question they asked me was, okay, besides Batman, what other superhero would you cancel?
You know, I know exactly who they wanted you to say. They wanted you to say Spider-Man because he works with the NYPD. Fucking Kotaku, every time a Spider-Man game comes out.
Well, and they want Miles Morales. They would rather have Miles Morales replace him anyways.
So they said G4 TV had no chance in hell from the start, and a quote tweet said, G4 TV was building the brand on cancel culture from the ground up. This is absolutely insane. Yeah. I think that this was their plan all along. Like, their business plan was to capitalize on, butthurt people in gaming, and it didn't work out for them because that culture is dying.
It makes me so sad. so sad.
And by the way, they're taking a job opportunity away from a girl who seems like very chill and like she genuinely likes like talking about these subjects. And
well, they don't want you to like
because
talking about subjects. They want
because
you to like
she
talking about
actually didn't get angry when just talking about these characters.
It's very clear when you read any of the articles.
She was out of the running.
When you read a lot of the articles on like a CBR or a Kotaku, that they don't want to talk about these things. They want to talk about ideology.
Yeah, and it's just a proxy for them to do so.
Yeah. Which is like it's one thing if you're a channel that's doing stuff where you're analyzing how pop culture affects the culture, the whole of the culture you're living in, right? But if you're strictly gaming or strictly that, like, it seems like you would want to stay in that territory, but they never do. So
yeah.
All right, we got some super chats, and guys, if it gets cut off, just a heads up, if it gets cut off, we are at the end of the stream today, so we would not start a second stream if we got cut off, but fingers crossed we have made it. So let's I think we got at least one super chat there.
Rega Tan said, mood right now, Alexa, play Rocketeer by Far East Movement. That's a good song.
See, I need to go watch the original movie, The Rocketeer, from 1991, if anybody's seen that.
I haven't.
Oh, it's a good one from back in the day.
Johnny Derp said, don't prostrate yourself, Brett. See a proctologist.
Ah, is that what I need to do? I must have missed that one. I need a recommendation.
A reference from yours.
Please.
Waffles Sensei said, for the record, I have no idea if you promised hats for chat. I was just trying to gaslight you, bro. But Mary says you did, and Mary's word is law. Yeah, I remember that happening for sure.
It's if we auction a hat, we have to find a way to do it.
But you just need to like sweat in it a ton before you send it over.
And just send
they
it over
want
there.
the sweat.
Well, they make those hats now that have like pre-done sweat stains. So that
Ew,
you can,
what?
Well, it's not real. It's like,
but why?
Because they want you to have the college bro experience before you even get started in college.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Waffles Sensei getting my hopes up. JK, LOL. Yeah, no hats. I don't think that you'll be getting any hats. Johnny Derp said, there are also rich supervillains. If you want to hate a wealthy person, Dr. Doom and Lex Luthor have got you covered. Actions make one evil, not wealth.
Yeah, but they don't believe that. They believe that the wealth and the color of his skin is original sin. And that's...
They're like, why is G4 TV 2.0 not making a lot of money? It's probably because we're morally superior.
Oh, look, and also it goes back to, it's kind of like what we were talking about with Candace Cameron Bure and
Baby
all of the
food.
angry feminists and activists that are mad at her, right? Like if you're trying to win hearts and minds, who's doing a better job of actually getting the people who are like, hey, come over and play video games. It's not that serious. Come over here. We're having fun. You like comic books? You like comic movies? You like regular movies? Come over here. We're here to just have fun. Or do you want to be the people who are like, he's a bad guy because he saves people, but he's also white and he has money? Like nobody actually wants that other than people who are already miserable.
They're just whiny, poopy diaper babies.
Exactly.
Terrence Rice said the mob should make a hero called Yes Person. It'll mold to whatever insanity they want. Nothing else to complain about, right? Right?
Yes.
That'd be cool.
There, I'm the yes person. I'll be the yes person. And then we got one more.
We do?
Just came through.
Oh, Waffle Sensei said, send chat a hat for the winner of meme review. I didn't know we had to pick a winner.
Is there a winner to meme review?
I've watched a lot of meme reviews and I've never seen one pick a winner, but I mean, we'll think about it.
Somebody says
Gross John might win because those video edits were pretty good.
He put some time into
He got
those.
some skills.
Good work.
Not gonna lie.
All right, guys. Thank you so much again for joining us today. If I had a clap track right now, I would play it right now.
We won.
But we seem
We
to have
made it past the stream shutting down allegations. We did it, guys.
So, Mary, since we are finishing up and we have done well today, at least I think we have, we'll go back through and check and find out like the audio is. Like somebody said there was some issues with stereo mix.
No.
Not big
Okay.
issues, but we'll work on it. Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Mary Archived if you want to see some pictures of me. And if you want to read my inane thoughts, you can find me on Twitter as well, also at Mary Archived. I also encourage you to go submit your memes and out of context clips on our Pop Culture Crisis subreddit for the next meme review we do. And I'm going to be on IRL tonight and the next couple of nights afterwards, so you can find me there too.
Also, that means that you can chill for the show
chill,
without
chill.
worrying as much.
Look, I'm doing them a favor.
By-
This is our up and coming cousin show.
Yes.
I'm trying to show them some support over there.
It's a beautiful thing that you do that for them. It just shows what a good person you are.
There's some scrappy go-getters.
There's one more
BMF
there.
Nate Dogg said, we are all winners because we get to watch PCC. Well, that's very sweet. Thank
you very much. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today and for working, going along on this just mind-numbing,
emotional roller coaster of a show
for the first part of the week. It means so much to me that you guys came back through, that you hung out, that you stuck with us. Hopefully everything is back to normal. That is my fingers crossed right there. There I am being superstitious again. Who knows if that actually works. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. The show Monday through Friday, barring any technical issues, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's noon Pacific. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you'd like to listen to it. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another full episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Later.
Bye.